So welcome to our next episode of Visionary New Earth Leaders podcast. And in this episode, I have a wonderful, wonderful guest here. And I can't wait to have this amazing conversation because I know we will have one. And I'm going to actually hand over to, would you like me to call you Queen Asherah? Or would you like me to call you something else? I'll let you introduce yourself and where you are in the world, what you do, what you're passionate about, who you help, and then we dive into the topic.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so my name is Asherah Miriam Rose, and at the moment, I'm actually living in Australia. I just moved here with my partner after living in Mexico for many years, and my passion and my purpose is really to support women in reconnecting with their original blueprint. And the way how that looks like is for them to have a very deep and authentic connection to their body, to their womb, to the earth, and through that step into sacred sovereignty and find a deeper level of fulfillment that then reflects in their external reality. And a little bit to myself, I have worked and trained a lot with the shamanic arts. I have spent extensive times in the Amazon jungle and been trained there, working and been initiated with the plant medicines, and also worked in Mexico very deeply with the land and with the ways of the Mexican elders and brujas, which are the Mexican witches. And apart from that, also been working very deeply with the womb mysteries and infusing kind of all the different bits and pieces into my work from my path from the last 10 years and everything that I have explored. So I'm just going to leave that one for now, just to give you a little hint about my work.
Thank you so much for sharing this. And I am personally truly passionate about deep connection with work. Like I've had it done. I do it on others as well in terms of the healing. I'm so tuned into all this. I love all of it. And connecting to the earth I feel it's like a journey home, really. So when people are listening to this, they might say, okay, well, this sounds all wonderful and so amazing. What is your drive for this? What is it that you see in women that can be so much better or improved or full, healed, whole when we work in this way? Tell us.
Yeah, so I feel there are really a lot of different angles and avenues that we can look at that. And I'm just going to talk about a couple of them for the reason of time and just stay focused on what I feel is important at this very moment. And one side of it is the somatic work, which is really also working with our body and healing the stuck and the blocked energies and emotions in our body that we have perhaps suppressed since a very long time because we didn't really know how to work with them and they continue to manifest in our lives. And the other part, which I feel ties into this is really beautifully, is working with the rhythms and the cycle of the earth and of nature and of our inner rhythms, which is the rhythms of our menstrual cycle. Yeah,
I love this. This is such an important conversation because my initial kind of response when you say that, it feels like when women lose connection to themselves, they also lose connection to the earth.
Right.
Because when we are locked in programming or conditioning or trauma or other, programming that's keeping us stuck or in fear, if we can't even connect to ourselves, how can we connect to the earth? That's my, I suppose you can feel the earth, of course.
Yeah.
Where do we start? I mean, because look at the Western world. I have this sense as well, like, in a lot of old traditions, the connections were not really lost because they're still working with that. Like, let's say some places Asia, maybe some places South America, like you said, Mexico. There's going to be places on Earth where women are still connected to themselves and the Earth, right?
Mm-hmm.
I feel this anyway. So where do we start? In the Western world, where everything is fast-paced, everyone's on their phone.
Right.
His dream.
Yes, exactly.
World. Where do we start?
Yeah, you're so right with asking that question and directing it to the Western world. And I really feel that the simple things that we can do is to start building a relationship with the earth and with nature. And that can be in the way of just walking in nature. And I've actually just started to do that recently, that I have my daily morning walks and I walk every morning for 30 minutes in nature. And I'm like, why haven't I been doing this all my life? I mean, I actually spend so much time in nature, but it wasn't that part of my morning routine. And I can feel the shift in my energy field already. And especially as many of us women that are quite sensitive and that get very often into these different like emotional roller coaster cycles, and they feel overwhelmed and all that. And it's because we are not taking the time to discharge and recharge. So these are two really important aspects, the discharging of all what you were just saying, the phones, the social media, all this information we are bombarded with. And I remember there was a moment when after I spent quite a while in Peru and I went back to Germany where I'm born, and I couldn't actually believe it. I saw all these billboards and colors and everything everywhere. And it was just like so much information. And it's like, wow, no wonder that we are not able to still our minds because we are constantly bombarded with more. And when we can take that time to discharge, and discharging is to spend time in nature, but discharging can also be just not to be on your phone for some time or the computer. It's very activating for our nervous system.
Yeah.
And then recharging is to then allow the energy to enter us. And sometimes it may be difficult because we have certain traumas in place, because we have stuck energy. And that's where I like to bring the somatic work in, where for me personally, the people I work with, I guide them through exercises. I guide them through listening to their body and help them to unlock those blocked emotions. And, you can do that in whatever way you feel guided to yourself. If you have a practice where you can just shaking and dancing and moving, it's really powerful. Another way of discharging. And then from that space, being able to actually receive the earth energy and to align with her rhythm, which is really slow, which is gentle, but very powerful and penetrating at the same time.
So what comes to me, I'm a little bit of a roadmap girl, so I like giving people roadmaps. So what comes to me when you say this is somebody feels that they have lost connection with themselves and their cycle. We see a lot of irregular, with periods, even fertility. There's so many problems, isn't it, with this cycle. So for somebody who feels that they are or not regulated, basically they are, out of balance, start walking in nature would be an amazing start, because then they're walking and connecting in nature, but kind of just giving themselves some space. without pressure, that could then start regulating some of their nervous system maybe, and some of their how they're feeling, and then some deeper somatic work and healing would then be a good idea to start. So they could couple them up, I feel.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, that would be exactly.
Yeah, because the thing is, I feel like walking in nature and spending time in nature is really powerful, and it's almost, for example, something that is really popular nowadays. It's like positive affirmation and all these things, which are kind of an overlay of something. It's like putting a little sparkle in that
fix the problem.
Right. Yeah, but it doesn't touch the root cause.
Yeah.
So we want to really address the root cause, which I personally experience myself and with my clients through the somatic work that goes deep, also through the shamanic work and through, different deeper retreats that we were holding with plant medicines and all that. But we don't really necessarily need them. We can just do it with the intelligence of our body and moving into those deeper spaces to release the root cause. And then there's so much energy that's going to be made available, because these patterns and trauma that we're calling the root cause right now, that are stuck in our body and that create our nervous system to enter into fight or flight and live in fight or flight without us even knowing. Like having a scattered mind, waking up in the morning and thinking about your to-do list, that's fight or flight.
Yeah.
Right there. And I mean, it's a journey. Like I still do it sometimes. It's not like, now we had done it and we're perfect, right?
We're work in progress, aren't we? We're leading by
exactly,
but work in progress always, of course.
Right.
So what question came to me here was that when we start realizing that something has to shift, I would love for you to go a little bit deeper and talk to us about the womb work. I'm not a womb specialist myself. I'm a healer and sometimes guided to work with the womb energy with my clients. But it's just, I'm following the spirit really. But for somebody who's been studying it, understanding deeper about it, could you tell us what the womb work actually does and how it can really support?
Yes. Studying it, but truly living it, implementing.
Yes, of course, dying, embodying it.
Right. Well, the womb is a dimension. Obviously, we have our physical womb that is really powerful and beautiful, represented in the feminine body. But the womb itself is really a dimension, and it is that dimension of the void and also our inner darkness that we like to call it. And there are many, many different angles that we can look at that, but I'm just going to present this one right here, where we use the womb as metaphor because it's a space that's kind of lower in our body, and also because we come from that cave of the darkness. And it's a space where very often when we don't know how to process things and something maybe traumatic or shocking also happens, we stuff it into our womb because we don't know where else to put it. So we kind of stuff it into that space. So when we do one of the many facets of that work is to actually go back into there and unravel it and look at it and work with the shadow from that space. And the other thing is also, it's like the womb is the root and is our connection to our own root and rooting into Mother Earth and her womb. And here it comes back to that connection and recreating that connection with the earth, which we as women are actually oracles and channels for that energy of the earth. And that's what we used to do naturally, always. And because we have lost that connection to our own wisdom that comes from that of the womb, we don't know how to bring it forth anymore, and it's like a spiral that we dance with and we move into deeper and deeper, and it's quite mystical. So sometimes it's a little bit difficult to put it into words for someone who has not really ever done it before. But I think I'm doing my best.
I think So what came to me when you said we stuff it into womb area? Is this where we stuff it? Is it metaphor, or do you feel like energetically we're actually storing trauma there, and subconsciously we are pushing things away, and they kind of are stored metaphorically in the womb, into darkness? Or is it the subconscious?
Yeah, I both parts. Because if we look at it from a level of the anatomy, our womb, which also in the Japanese and Chinese is called our hara. That's our life force chi center, right? So the way how it's meant to be structured, it's actually meant to be just this very condensed energy field of light. And it's meant to be almost like a stem of a tree. And then from that space, the energy rising up and then becoming more fluid in our heart and our mind, becoming more fluid. But nowadays, it is the opposite because of all this energy being stuffed down here. And also because we have so many insecurities around our sexuality, which is also connected to our womb, the womb of creation, where we come from. And there's a lot of shame and guilt and all that it's stuffed into there. We kind of have this very dispersed energy field in our womb center, and the way how it can reflect in life is, again, overwhelm, is lack in being able to manifest things and to move forward in life. It's emotional roller coasters and ups and downs. It's also being very easily drained for people that are sensitive, like I'm extremely sensitive, and it doesn't have to be that way. If we are centered in our root and in our womb, we actually will be, that's just our protection.
Yeah.
It's like, stamp.
Like an inner strength that sort of
exactly
that repels that's draining. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And also I want to add one more thing to it. Another thing is really important. As a lot of us women, like we work a lot with the heart and like that energy of love and divine love and unconditional love, which is so beautiful. But if we are not empowered and in sacred sovereignty in our womb, it can very often turn into a overgiving. Yes. It can turn into a lack of boundaries. Mm-hmm. And it can turn also into some sort of unworthiness and insecurities, and maybe even giving from a space because we're not honoring ourselves. So that's why it's so important to have the balance of them both.
Yeah. I'm so intrigued by this because I know that as women, we are portals and we are channels. Is there a sacral sort of portal for men as well?
Mm-hmm.
They don't have a womb, but they also have a sacral chakra.
Yeah. Yeah, you mean in the sense of their inner... I'm
just curious because
oracle, or how would it be expressed in men?
Creativity, joy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Happiness, able to experience pleasure and allowing ourselves to receive. Do you know what I mean? This is the of the sacral chakra. I'm curious.
Yeah,
no men will listen to this podcast.
Okay.
Yeah, interesting. I think so, because I have a few interested.
Yeah, 100%. This work is actually really important for men. I mean, I could just call my beloved over and let him share about his experience diving into the womb realm and doing so much inner work on opening to the emotions and opening to healing his mother wound. And also when we dive deeper and deeper, we start with working to heal our original traumas of our own birth for when we came from the womb. Because at the end of the day, we all came from a womb, and we will all return to the womb, right? To the womb of Gaia.
Yes.
So it is really definitely for men, it's so important. And the thing is, I guess why we are addressing it mostly for women, apart from that I personally feel more women are just drawn to it and ready, but it's also, right? But it's also because for us women, it's a bit more complex since we hold the physical womb and we are the life givers. And we also are shedding every month with our menstruation. So there's a lot of energy that moves for us. Whereas men are more these pillars. You know, if I look at my partner, he's just like, wake up in the morning, does this thing. And it's just like, you know, like that. I'm like, wow, you know, it's so much easier to be a man. But then in the same time, he also goes through his own cycles. And he's definitely, I mean, it's part of the embodiment for the man to activate their hips and their hip movement, and also like release trauma and imprints even around their penis and all that, which, you know, we were very imprinted also as men,
of course,
in our society. So yeah, important.
I had another question for you as well. So I know that I can work with this, right? So menopausal women and women who's already stopped menstruating, is the cycle as strong from your perspective? Because we're still connected to the moon cycles. Do you know what I mean? We're still connected to the movement. Like we're not disconnected, right, from the cosmos. So tell us what your experience is with the menopause and the cycle finished.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, okay, I have not experienced menopause yet, so I'm just going to draw a little bit more from an intuitive feeling and intellectual, because everything I essentially speak about is really what I've experienced and embodied, but, or am embodying on the journey of it as we are. I haven't really worked with that many women in the menopause, but what I can say and sense with the menopause is that I feel that it slows down. So it is not as strong anymore. And it slows down a little bit. And the reason is because when we step into menopause, and again, this is just coming from in my intuitive feeling, is that we move just into a different frequency. We move more into that crown energy, into the wise woman, and also many aeons ago, the way also in the Buddhist traditions and in the ancient religions of India, what would happen is that when women would reach like their 50s or their 60s, they'd actually slowly start to prepare for death in a not in a negative way, how we would think it nowadays, oh my God, life is over. No, they would do their pilgrimages, they would go into deep states of meditation, and they would just move onto that path of slowing down naturally to prepare that way. And I'm not suggesting that, you know, that's what women should do, and it's in the modern world, because I know there are a lot of incredible women in their 60s that are running and going, but I feel generally it's almost like a lot has integrated, and that's why our body is ready to just slow down and step into this next epoch as a space holder of all the wisdom. And torch in the back then in the times of the tribes, the torch was actually passed on to the younger women. So it wasn't that like the ancient medicine elders, they would just hold that space. But the younger women would go and they would do the work and they would travel the lands and the healing and all that, you know? So it's also, yeah, exactly.
Wow.
So that's my take on that one.
Wow, I love it. I think it's amazing. I mean, personally, I've finished the menopause, so like I haven't had cycles for years. Yeah, I know.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know. It's sad, isn't it? Yeah. And, really, it's quite good actually, because my daughter is a teenager, so she's like 14, and I'm now this crone. So it's kind of, I can give her a really relaxed approach to things when she starts spinning out. And it's kind of like me when I was 14. And it's actually good balance. So it's good that is it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you experience it? Would you feel it resonates when I was sharing?
Yeah,
and
it does
that way.
resonate. And
Yeah.
I was trying to explain it to my friend the other day, actually, about how I've entered this same chrono stage in the business. I am so done with feast and famine. I want everything evergreen, and I want it all nice and smooth and easy, and kind of not easy as in like I'm not. Of course, I work towards my goals, but it needs to be smooth. I think my own energy, just saying, this is how we're doing now. We don't go chase things. We do them in a really nice, steady manner. And I feel that's my energy. Doing
beautiful. Yeah.
I'm like a bit
piece of that.
If I do a launch, I probably do a paid launch. Like I don't want to go, fully in with my energy, because it feels like it's too misaligned.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So I'm just asking you your experience. Yeah. So if so we've shared some great tips how to get started, and we've sort of covered places which is important. So for people listening to this podcast will be typically entrepreneurs, they'll be typically leaders or business owners. How can, we said already, walk in nature, but how can they get started with this connection with their womb if they haven't already? What would you recommend?
Okay. So directing this to women, because I have something really great that I will bring.
Yes.
Coming back to working with our menstrual cycle, and I'm actually about to launch program around this, which is working with the intelligence of our cycle. And as women, we go through 4 stages every month, which are inner seasons. And they are our inner winter, which is our menstruation. And then we move into our inner spring the week after, which is the time where when we come out of our menstruation, which is the time for resting and contemplating. And if you have been in menopause, you can still get inspired by that. And if you are a man, you can still get inspired by that, because we all always go through cycles. So I'm just going to share that model, and, we can draw from it and work with it the way that it feels in alignment with our body. So coming out of that time of resting is when we move into the spring. And that is the time where we can, all the visions that we receive in resting, in the silence. And if you truly allow yourself to rest, no matter if you're menstruating or not, even just for a day, be off your phone, you will see how much incredible abundance of inspiration comes through. And I'm sure you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then we move in the space of just putting it onto paper, bringing the ideas down. That's kind of in our inner spring. And then we move into the summer, which is the productivity phase, which is the phase that all of humanity at the moment, or let's say 85%, lives in. The go, 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 the do, and it's incredible. It's that solar masculine energy. But if we only live in that, we eventually got to burn out, right? So in our summer phase, we actually, want to draw from that energy. We want to do it. We want to work from a space of inspiration, getting it done, taking action. And then after that, we come into the autumn, where we then want to take a little bit rest we want to step back and watch our projects flourish. And we want to give them space to grow. And then we again come back into the winter where we take that time for just silence and integration and death. And we can even use that and work with this around the whole year. And so why I'm suggesting that template for any entrepreneurs is because I want to present a new way of working in an alignment with our body, in alignment with the earth, in alignment with our inner rhythms. And what will this bring is it will support you to move from stress and from living in fight or flight in your nervous system to flow. And flow brings more joy, and it's structured flow. So it's not just like flowing and floating. No, that's right? Yeah. Which is so important, because then there's the other side of a lot of women just floating around.
Well, that's not productive either.
No, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
And so you have that structured flow, and that is going to bring you more inspiration. And then we can align with true prosperity, and we can unlock this other way of living. If we look at nature, nature has her rhythm, and she gives when the time is ready. And when there's nothing to give, she rests, you know, and yet there's always abundance.
Yes.
And that's the thing, is when we start to live in alignment with our rhythm, with the earth's rhythm, with more natural rhythm, everything's just going to be so much more easier. It's going to be healthier, and things are going to start flowing naturally. So in our business, you know, we may bring in more clients, more prosperity, more ideas, and really moving away from this template of needing to, you know, get it done by that time, always, all the time. And I need to make money. I need to hit this money goal, you know, and just allowing ourselves to step into this more beautiful dance.
Absolutely.
With everything we do.
That was a wonderful, wonderful, not just suggestion, but I feel it's a model that we could all apply into our businesses and, you know, follow. So to wrap up, where would people be able to find you? And is there anything you want to share, particularly right now, that people could jump on? Let me know. Let us know.
Yes. So people can find me on Instagram under @Asherah Miriam Rose.
Yeah.
And that's where, you know, I'm hanging out, I'm sharing my things. And I have also a website that's called the schoolofmodernmystics.com. And under there, you can learn more about me. My partner is also on there because we are collaborating. And at the moment, what I have always open and running, or most of the time, unless I'm booked out, I have Leap, which is my 4-week mini one-on-one container. And that is for people that would just like to make that leap of faith, that perhaps have done the work and they just need someone to support them in finally embodying and unlocking the things that, you know, they have taken in. And then I have another container that's called Regenesis. It's a 12-week journey, and that's really a journey of complete death and a complete rebirth. So these are always, or most of the time, open for enrollment. And I'm also just about to launch my newest creation, which is called Black Magic. And that is especially for women working through that template that I just shared about, and aligning with their menstrual cycle, so they can bring that into their life, their relationship, into their business, their partnership. And I'm launching it, but it's also going to be an evergreen model so that people can join.
Wonderful.
Whenever they need to and feel inspired. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And thank you, everyone. So thank you for coming here, taking the time, share your wisdom with everyone. And thank you, everyone, for watching. And we'll see you really soon in the next episode.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.